Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Starbucks this wonderful morning. I'm not sure what happened at the beginning of the show, but anyways, how's everyone doing? How you doing, Jim? My name's Anthony DiNardo. I'm all thrown off right now. With me, we got Jim Rosati. Jim, happy Tuesday. We are shooting on a Tuesday today.
Happy Tuesday. Yeah, we actually made it on our scheduled day. So
I know.
That's interesting.
It's going to be a good day, Jim. It's going to be a good week. I feel it. The Pirates are coming off a 2-win series.
How about that? 10 losses in a row, and then the Bats decide to wake up this past weekend.
Seriously, they had Cleveland come into town. No match for the Indians. They're just way too good. So they took 2 out of 3. Hey, even the Diamondbacks won last night. So it's a really good week.
The Diamondbacks did win. What was it? And it wasn't even close. It was like a 5-1 win or something like that.
Hey, the Brewers and the Indians, right? There's your teams. You need to take away your streak.
Just shows you anything could happen.
Yeah, that's what it is. But that's baseball. Anyways, though, yeah, let's talk maybe a little bit about that series. I mean, the Pirates, they couldn't keep losing, right? I mean, they're not that pathetic. We know they're bad, but they're not like, Diamondbacks pathetic. They're going to win sometime. Now, the AL Central, we know, is pretty much trash as well. So the Indians come into town. The Pirates. Now, first off, let's talk about that first game.
Ooh, that was a wild one.
The Pirates, I mean, you say the Bats woke up. They woke up, Jim. They came out firing. They're up 11-1. Game over, right? All done. Everyone go to bed. It's not quite what happened, Jim. It's not quite what happened. In Pirates fashion, the Indians came back and made it a game. 10 runs is not enough to hold back the Pirates relievers this time around, I guess.
Yeah, 11-1. Chad Kuhl pitched great, by the way. Let's get that out of the way. Mention that his first win of the season.
If you don't mind saying that one more time, Jim.
Chad Kuhl pitched great for once. 6 innings, one run, 4 hits, 1 walk, struck out 4. So nice outing for him. But then wheels started to come off right after that. He gets pulled. It's an 11-1 game. Sam Howard comes in, who's been, I mean, we've talked about Howard a few times on this, and I mean, he's been great all year, and he just did not have it like whatsoever. Was getting shelled, was walking people, didn't look good. Somehow he was able to stay in there for 33 pitches.
Well, because he didn't have anyone tell him not to stay in there.
Right. So he was somehow able to be in there for 33 pitches, gave up 6 runs. And by the time that he was done, it was a ball game again. Bednar luckily came in, closed the door that inning, but then Kyle Crick did the exact same thing that Howard did. Came in, couldn't throw the ball anywhere, was getting hit hard. I think he even
hitting people.
He hit 2 people. Yeah, like didn't know where the ball was going whatsoever. He gives up 3 runs. Next thing you know, it's 11-10. The tying runs like on third base. and it's like, what is going on here? But
yeah. And that's the thing too, like Rich Rod comes in, even Rich Rod was giving up. He had 2 hits. So looking a little bit shaky there, but he held it down and I guess you can say earned the save after the Pirates were leading 10 runs.
Yeah, man. Absolutely bonkers game.
It was crazy. And that was like the one thing. And we're not saying, we've all said how the bullpen as a unit is very average, but there are definitely some nice pieces there. I mean, right, like when the strength, air quotes, of this team, strength has been the bullpen, like that's what gave it up that game. I mean, they gave up 9 earned runs.
Sam Howard's season earned run average, his ERA basically doubled.
Yes, it's a 4.44 right now.
Yeah, and I think he came into the game with it. It was like 2.4 or something like that. So almost almost doubled his entire season's ERA.
Right. And so let's talk about that. So part of it was, like we said, like Howard was just walking everyone, getting hit. 0.2 innings. He had 2 walks, 4 hits, home run, and of course the 6 earned. He wasn't on at all. It wasn't there. And that's the thing. Like, I get you have a 10-run lead, so a couple runs here and there, not that big of a deal, right? But you almost lost the game in 1 inning. Just 1 inning alone with Howard. Like, that's how bad he was. And you, as the manager, just said, "Oh, we're good. We'll just keep him there." Like you said, like, how did he last that long? How do you look that awful? And he did. He looked awful. It wasn't as just like you have to hand it to the Indians on how well they were hitting or whatever. I mean, he looked really bad. He was not himself. And obviously the next day he goes on the IL. So to speak about how I'm not looking himself. So how do you as a manager let him go 33 pitches that inning? That's part of it. And I think we'll touch on that a little bit more here. And then, yes, with Crick hitting the 2 guys, the one thing I said, it's funny, you and I both said on Twitter like the same exact time. We understand that one of the side effects with the sticky ball situation, right, the lack of all substances, is you're probably going to maybe see a lot more hitters being hit by the pitcher because of not having grip, losing the ball. Those 2 incidents, I don't think was about that at all. That was like your typical, because that ball moved. Both of those sliders had some movement. I just think it was the typical Crick where he has no idea where the ball's going ever anyways. And it just ended up running into the hitter's the shin the one time. I forget where the second guy got hit. Probably the same area. But
Jose Ramirez, he had to leave the game, right?
Right. It hit like the inside of his like shin there.
Yeah. So yeah, crazy, absolutely crazy. I really thought, I was like, you know what, we just lost 10 in a row. We've now taken a 10-run lead in this game, and this is going. I was like, we're gonna lose because just that's what we do. And unbelievable. I can't believe they did that. I mean, I guess I can, but it was it was a wild game. It was fun. I mean, it was a lot of entertainment value to it, and the bats obviously, were alive, and that was good to see because they haven't been alive in, it seems like, 2 weeks. But yeah, crazy game. They held on, so that was good.
Right. Yes. And that was the other thing, man. I'm telling you, when the Pirates were up, I think it was 7-1 or something like that. I was just like, I'm gonna do something here. And I had this idea, and the Pirates just kept adding to the total. I'm like, oh, this is even better. Like, I'm safe. This is perfect. And I don't know if you saw it, but I put a tweet out there, making fun of Gab Gowdy, the famous Cleveland fan or whatever, everyone likes to troll, whatever. So I put out this tweet making fun of Gab Gowdy, thinking the Pirates are safe with a 10-run lead. And I'm like, there's no effing way, Jim. This thing is going to come back and haunt me. And I tell you, I was on the edge of my seat. Like, I cannot believe the Pirates are going to lose a 10-run lead and make me look like a fool. And she's going to come back and say something to me. So thankfully they didn't, for my sake as well. But yes, so that was a hell of a game. So I guess
I don't know what a Gab Gowdy is.
You're lucky.
I don't think I follow a single person who has anything to do with Cleveland sports.
All right, well, there you go. Anyways, so let's move on to the next day. The Pirates, there it is. I'm like, where the hell is this box score? All right, so the Pirates win 6-3. It was a much cleaner game. They're the ones that came back actually this time.
Yeah, that was a normal game, and comeback time. All 6 runs were scored in 1 inning in the 7th inning.
Yeah, so I said it was Karinich? Oh, Shaw, that's what it was. Shaw mainly. It's like Shaw looked at Howard and said, "Don't worry, buddy, I got your back." and he was the one that gave the big inning for them. So thankfully, the Brian Shaw came in. He didn't even record an out. I didn't even realize that. He didn't record an out. So 3 walks and a hit, and he gave up 4 earned runs.
Yeah, he was bad. He was bad. And the Pirates hit 2 home runs. Perez, who basically he either gets a home run or he gets out. Like
Right.
he doesn't really do anything else. He's hitting 152 on the year now. He's got 5 home runs.
Isn't he
And,
third on the
like,
team with home runs?
I think he is.
think
And
he is.
he only has like 70 plate appearances or something like that. So he's
Right.
he's probably like the most prolific power hitter on the team. He homers like once every 12 or 13 at bats, something like that. But that's like he also only gets a hit once every 12 or 13 at bats. But no, so Perez with a big 3-run homers. Perez 3-run homer, and then Reynolds 3-run homer. So it's not. It was nice to see them, make Cleveland pay for all those walks, right? I mean, 5 walks in that inning, and they were like, hey, if you're gonna give us free passes, we're gonna bop it over the fence when these guys are on base. So that was cool.
So again, speaking of the offense waking up on Friday night, it's still there. I mean, it might have just been one inning, but it was still there, right? Pirates scored 6 runs. They came clutch. Brian Reynolds came clutch as well, hitting a home run, like you said with Perez. I mean, obviously, like the big standouts this weekend is just what it normally is. I mean, Adam Frazier was doing his thing for the most part. Brian Reynolds really doing his thing. But I guess I don't know.
Hayes kind of cooled off a little bit, but he did have some nice timely hits throughout the series. I think he had 2 hits, but I think one of them he had that big 3-run double where really without that on Friday night, that ended up being the difference maker actually.
That really
those were
actually, yeah.
Those
You
were
didn't
runs
think so at the
9.
time. That was more just the insurance runs. Now that was like the game-winning hit.
Yeah, you didn't think so, but like those were runs 9, 10, and 11. Without those, they would have lost.
Right. So I want to maybe talk a little bit about Will Crow because I don't know, man. Like it wasn't the best outing by him by any means. Like he gave up 2 home runs, but those 2 home runs were the only runs scored. It wasn't his best game, but it wasn't terrible. I mean, 4.2, 2 earned runs. I know like the overall numbers like look bad, but I don't know. And it could just be a difference of you and I, because I think I know where you stand with him more than I know I do. I'm still on this. I'm semi-intrigued with Will Crow. I still am like, what is Will Crow? Because like when you watch him, there's parts that make me feel like he can be a pretty competent pitcher. I'm looking like, obviously, like best case scenario is still like a 5-star. He's not anything like spectacular by any means. I'm not looking at Will Crow and saying, oh, this guy could be an ace or this guy's a middle rotation guy. What I'm looking at him saying is I had no feeling that he was going to be any part of this rotation. And now when I watch him pitch, I feel like maybe he could. Your face tells me a lot. Go ahead, Jim. Fight me. Do it.
No, I mean, I feel like Will Crow is like your new Chad Cool fascination, where you think he's good, but he's not.
It's no. Let me go on record and say something. I get what you're saying. Chad Cool, I really believed in. Will Crow, I don't. Will Crow, I want to see more. Like he intrigues me because I expected him to be really bad, and I don't think he's as bad as I expected. Even though the overall numbers explain it, but to me, even like start to start, he's different. Like I say, like he goes 97, then the one start he goes 94, and it's just like, what is Will Crow? I want more sample size from him.
What is Will Crow?
He doesn't have the Chad Cool stuff.
At best, like his ceiling, he's a 5-starter. And like that's if everything goes well.
And I agree with that.
And I think for the most part, though, he's just rotational depth. He's someone who's capable of going out there and throwing 5 or 6 innings, and maybe not getting knocked around. But you've also seen him get knocked around. I think ultimately he's a reliever. I just think that's the case. He's now had 10 starts on the year. No, 10 games. 9 of those have been starts. And he has looked good in some of them.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean,
he had a really bad outing.
Yeah, I mean the game against the Brewers, that 8 strikeout game, he looked great. and like he goes through stretches where he looks good. But I mean, at the end of the day, he's 10 games, he's 0-4 with a 6.42 earned run average. Like, at what point are you like, okay, yeah, he looks good at times, but people are still hitting off of him, you know? So
well, put it this way, to answer your question, that's where I'm at. Like, you ask at what point, I'm not at that point yet.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm just at here. It's good this is the last season because I do want to see more of Will Crow. And I'm still on record saying, like, if the Pirates are going to be good, it's probably not going to have Will Crow in the rotation. Like, they probably going to have a really nice 5-starter in that sense that can be exceptionally better than Will Crow, hopefully. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't look at Will Crow and just say this guy's awful for some reason. Maybe I'm just an idiot. I've been proven that I'm an idiot at times on this show. As speaking of Chad Cole, right? So yeah. I'm okay with that. But to me, I'm not closing the book on Will Crow yet. I just, for some reason, he fascinates me, and I don't know why.
I mean, I'm fine with him going out there every 5th day, right? I mean, because who else are you going to throw out there? So I'm completely fine with him getting starts and showing what he can do. But I think I know who he is, and who he is a depth guy. He's a depth guy who is capable of putting some innings together. I think probably in the long run best suited for like that Chris Stratton type role, you know, that he's excelled at, right? I mean, so I think that's who he is. Again, I'm fine with him starting at this point because, again, who's going to do it? But yeah, I'm not really intrigued or interested by Will Crow anymore.
And that's very fine.
Yeah.
That's very fine. All right, so we'll move on from Will Crow. Anything else standing out from that game that you wanted to touch on to recap?
No.
No.
No. That was just that Saturday's win. Yeah, Saturday's win.
I'll just say this. Rich Rod did come in again. He did give up a earned run. So maybe some minor concerns about Rich Rod, you know, heading into this trade deadline. Immediately after the whole, you know, banning the substance stuff, and then, you know, Rich Rod looked kind of shaky the past 2 outings. Just something to keep an eye on. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
And then,
something to look at.
So Sunday's game, the Pirates lose 2-1. They don't get the sweep. Here, I think we have some issue that's going to transition into our next topic. Speaking of people that are pitching well, Bubaker's on the mound. Bubaker's pitching a hell of a gem. Pitching fantastic. Only goes 6.2. Takes the L.
When I think to, yeah. So let's kind of get to this. So JT Bubaker he's rolling, right? Like, I mean, he's just straight up shoving. He leads off the bottom of the 6th inning, right? So the Pirates are batting in the bottom of the 6th. They're down 1-0, and he hits, right? He strikes out, but the Pirates later in that inning, you know, string some hits together and they tie the game up in the 6th. Then the 7th comes along, and I joke, you know, I joke as Bubaker was actually in the on deck circle in the 6th inning. I go, Shelton, you know, someone tweeted out Shelton's going to let Bubaker hit. And I was like, watch, he'll probably take him out after 1 batter in the 7th. Well, I was close. He took him out after 3 batters in the 7th. So he strikes out Bobby Bradley to lead off the inning, gives up a double to Rosario. Which was really like the first.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't even like, it wasn't a bad pitch or anything. That was the other thing I wanted to point out in this game. Like, Bubaker basically gave up 2 hits. Essentially, he gave the home run and then the double. The home run to Harold Ramirez was a fastball 3 inches off the plate inside that somehow, I don't know how Ramirez was able to get around on it and keep his hands inside enough to keep that ball fair. But an amazing piece of hitting by Ramirez hit that ball out. And if you remember, it was right after that slider that he threw too, that was 20 inches off the plate that Ramirez threw his bat at to stay alive. So, it's not like Brubaker made any mistakes there. It was just an insane piece of hitting. Rosario, same thing. It was a breaking ball down. I mean, that ball probably would have bounced if Rosario didn't hit it. And then Rosario, he hits it off of the Clemente wall. So runner on second, and then he gets a ground out. So it's 1-1, 2 outs in the 7th, and he takes Brubaker out.
Josh Naylor up to bat.
Josh Naylor up to bat. Josh Naylor, let me do some really quick math here. 679 OPS, Josh Naylor, right?
Yeah.
On deck, we've got an even worse hitter, Ryan Lavarnway, right? So, and you got an empty base. So you could either pitch to Josh Naylor, who sucks, or you could walk him and face Ryan Lavarnway, who, guess what? He also sucks. So
a lot more. A lot more. I mean,
they're not good players at all. Either of them, really. You could say Josh Naylor's maybe got some potential, but geez, what are we doing here? Brubaker's at 76 pitches. He's only given up 3 hits the entire game, 2 of which we just talked about were just unreal pieces of hitting. He struck out 9 batters. Like, he is he's just mowing people down. And Shelton comes out of the dugout and pulls him with this runner on second. I was about to lose my mind. I don't know if I can find my tweets here, but I was very vulgar.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, why are you making these terrible, terrible decisions? Not a single person watching that game would have said, oh, now's the time you take Brubaker out. Not a single person. 75 pitches. It was 75 pitches in, and he's just out on an absolute tear. And you take him out, you bring in a borderline major leaguer, right? I mean, we're not talking about, Sam Howard's on the IL.
I mean,
so
this is the guy who wasn't even like making the club on the Pirates to begin with, and that's a bad team,
right? Yeah, you're not bringing in Sam Howard, your main lefty, right? Because he's now on the IL, because you just let him throw 33 pitches and he tweaked I think it was his knee or something that's been bothering him. So you probably just made him pitch too long. Stupid idiot. So instead we bring in Chasen Shreve, right? He's basically a AAA / major. He's barely a major leaguer. Yeah. Let's just say this. Right. He is a guy, like, he's one of those guys where you look at and you're like, okay, this guy strictly is playing baseball only because he can throw a ball left-handed. Like, that's, if he were a righty, like, there's absolutely no chance, right? So he brings in Chasen Shreve, and I mean, let's not say Chasen Shreve does a bad job. I mean, he executed his pitch. He got a weakly hit ground ball. It just happened to get through, and Indians take the lead 2-1. But, like, what are you thinking? Why are you making that move? It just doesn't make sense to me. After the game, he's asked about it, and he basically just repeated what I just said. It was, I wanted the lefty-lefty matchup. Shreve executed his pitch. We just didn't get lucky. Right. Well, yeah, that happened, but why? You still didn't answer. Like, why didn't you take him out? Like, why don't you have faith to let your young starter get through this when he's pitching lights out? I don't know. It's just he is getting on my nerves. His welcome is long. it's long gone now.
Right.
We've seen some bad managers, right, as Pirates fans, but Shelton, absolutely brutal. He's just time and time again, just terrible, terrible decisions. I don't want him anywhere near this team. Like once it's competitive.
So I'm absolutely with you, and I think there's even more aspects you look at this. So again, like, the left and left, like, okay, that would have been basically Sam Howard's point to come in the game, but Sam Howard wasn't there. So because by default, like the only guy left for that matchup for you to do is Shreve. He comes in, and so here's where you're at. You want to play the numbers game, but I mean, is Shreve really that guy? Are you that guy? Like, even though the numbers are there, do you want to say, I would still rather have this guy to be there pitching? Only because, like you said, he's a man that throws left-handed. Or do I want to say, I still would rather trust in Bubaker, understand the matchup, or, again, just walk him and go to the Varn way? There, the matchup's gone, and now you're facing this guy who is not a good hitter, and you just get out of the inning and call it a day. Because, I mean, do you have no faith in a Bubaker versus Lavarnway matchup?
Career 216 hitter, Ryan Lavarnway.
So what's the decision? Like, okay, then just miss the matchup. Bye. Go away with it. Go Lavarnway. Get out of the inning, or okay, go and have him pitch to Naylor, because again, I understand the matchup, right? But he's not that great of a hitter yet. Probably still never will be a good hitter. But Bubaker is dealing, and here's something too, okay? And I think this does. So go back to like my complaint I had last week a little bit, where it seems like the kid gloves are on the starting pitchers to such a fault that we put so much pressure on the bullpen. And like, here's just like another example of it. Like the kid gloves, like I understand protecting and that's great. And I think that's why I give Shelton some pass this year on the way he manages his pitchers, is because you really have to think about health. That's the main concern. In the season that doesn't matter, I think the main concern is coming out healthy. Not having like half your rotation go out on Tommy John, because then that really sucks for your rebuild here. But at the same time, there's a development issue, and where there was one moment I feel like in the past 2 weeks that you and I both felt like, I'm glad he got out of whatever it was, right? Like this would have been that moment for Bubaker. Let's test him. Like the getting him out there feeling good can go so far. And earlier on this season, that was part of it. And yeah, let's get him out of here. Let's build on these starts. Well, now we're halfway into the season almost. Like, you've built up on them. Let's face some adversity. Let's put Bubaker in that situation. So here it is. Go out there. You're my guy. You're dealing. You're my guy. Let's do it. And let's have him face Naylor. Even if you don't want to walk him and go Lavarnway. Like, okay, then face Naylor. Face him. Do it. I trust in you. You're going to pull me out for this guy that you just called up from AAA after what I just pitched? Like, that's how I feel if I'm Bubaker. You're going to put this guy in here to face... You don't trust me to face Josh Naylor? You're going to put this guy in here? Did you just see what I've been doing? I'm pissed off if I'm Bubaker. I'm punching Shelton right in the face. And that's just how I feel. Like, a slap to the face.
You're right.
I mean, let me do this. Let me finish this off. I got this. And it's not as if he was struggling out there, or, like you said, it was 70. What was it again? 71 pitches?
76 pitches.
76 pitches. So again, like, why is this magical number at 70 all of a sudden for this team? Like we had the Will Crow situation the week before. Now we have the Bubaker situation here. I'm just not getting it with Shelton. And it's funny because Mitch said this in our chat here on the stream, and it's something I tweeted. Like, I'm at the point too. He says, like, he started the conspiracy theory now. Shelton is managing to suppress ARB numbers. And that's where I'm at. Like I said, like, what are we doing here? Is he just really this bad? Or are we just suppressing arbitration numbers? Because now here's another L on Bubaker's stat sheet that we can say, well, you're not that good of a pitcher.
Yeah, I think he's just that bad of a manager, to be honest with you.
And that explains everything. Like we're really at conspiracy theories. That's how bad Shelton has shown himself to be. Last year's conspiracy was we're tanking, and he's in on it. And now the conspiracy is must be suppressing ARB number. Like everything's conspiracy because of how bad he is. Because you just think, well, it can't be this bad. There's got to be something bigger.
That is kind of funny. Like the past 2 years, there have been people who have like almost not necessarily made excuses, but that's almost what they're doing. They're like, well, he's doing this because of this. And I'm like, I don't know. Like he just seems like he's completely clueless out there. I will say, like, typically his actual management of the bullpen has been pretty decent, but the whole not leaving in starters long enough, and then really the Sam Howard situation on Friday too kind of made me upset. Like he clearly didn't have it. And like we see him pull these starters after 75 pitches.
Sam Howard pitched almost half the pitches in 0.2 innings as Bubaker did the whole game.
Threw 33 pitches to like 8 batters, and he just sat there and let him do it. And it's like, dude, he doesn't have it. Like, get him out of the game. Like, everyone can see it.
And that's what I'm getting at. Like, why are the starters such baby gloves? And every reliever can go out there and just their arms are all going to fall off. I don't care two shits about it. I don't care. Let them. If they die, they die. But for the starters, oh my God, you know, he's got a paper cut. Let's get him out of here. But you know, this guy's arm fell off, and it's like, well, you got another one. Keep pitching.
I don't get it, and I don't. Yeah, I don't get why like 75 pitches is now this number. Like the guys can throw more than this. I mean, they've been doing it their entire careers. I'm trying to find a game log here for Bubaker. I want to see like what's the most pitches Bubaker has thrown this year. I feel like he's been like a pretty efficient guy. Okay, so Bubaker has gone into the 90s once, but he typically is in that 80 range. And the last 2 starts, he's only gone 71 and 76, and it's not like they were bad starts. He's just getting pulled early. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. And I do appreciate, like, I mean, everybody's asking him at least why, you know, they're asking him why he's doing this. And his answers are bad. Like, he's just giving bad answers. You know, it's he's doing it because he thinks it's the right move, and it's just clearly not. And he's the only person in the entire ballpark who thinks it's the right move. I mean, when he walked out to get Bubaker in that 1-1 game, right? The first weekend, the PNC Park had a pretty decent crowd, right? Yeah. The whole crowd boos him, going out there to pull him, and I'm like, and they're like, "What do you think about the boos getting booed?" And he's like, "I like that there's fans in the stands and they're passionate." It's like, well, they still think you're an idiot.
And I'm just sitting there thinking, man, that 2020 was a blessing for you, because you're about to find out how passionate these fans are.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's starting to wear off a little bit. I think most people are going to give him a pass. And the other thing too is, like, this team's bad, right? Like, the players aren't good, but you still got to put everybody in their best position to succeed, and he's just not doing it.
No, I'm glad you said that, because that's a very good point. And let's maybe touch it just a little bit to that point. I fully understand where you're coming from, but I do want to say 2 things can be true. You can't have understanding that this team is bad, and there's probably not a whole lot he could do. I mean, for one, let's go back to what I think all of us kind of agree with, that the managers have really not that much of an effect on a game, right? I mean, if you have bad players, you have bad players. So it's not like, you know, Shelton, you could have the best manager here of all time, and this team's not going to be good. So he's dealt with a bad hand, and I get that, and that's why some things it's whatever. But he can also show you that he makes some really bad decisions, and like you said, so once his team is good, he's not that guy. It's not Shelton.
Right.
Whenever his contract is up, it's up, and we're moving on because I've seen enough, and I'm all year I've pretty much said, I've been talking about how there hasn't been a whole lot that has really made me angry or upset about him this year, and I give him some passes and some things I do understand. So I feel like to a default, I've almost been on his side in most cases, than not, and understanding that. But there are just at times, and this is one of them, where there's no reason, there's no excuse you can give me for this. This was just bad. And you can't criticize him for what. So, like, the people out there, like, oh, Shelton's an idiot. He lost his game. Shelton. Like, there's way more problems on this team than Shelton or Gregory Polanco. There's way more problems. But you can highlight what Shelton has done. And, yes, you're right, man. Like, I've seen enough of Shelton to know. I'm not saying he needs fired tomorrow because, again, this is the last season. Who cares at this point in that sense? But I've seen enough at this point. There has not been a good enough progression at all for me, even, to give him the benefit of the doubt as being the new manager, to say that he's earned anything to be the manager going into this next shot. Like, he's not Clint Hurdle.
No. I mean, we complained about Hurdle a lot, but
can I have him back?
I mean, Shelton at this point, I don't think could, he doesn't hold a candle to him. So it's not even close. And it's just brutal decision after brutal decision. And like, you don't get a ton of chances to win games with this team, right? So I think that's another reason why maybe his mistakes are highlighted a little bit, because, okay, we finally have a chance to win, and then he makes a decision that backfires.
So you're up 10 runs.
Maybe
you're up 10 runs.
But yeah, like, these are games that, like, this game shouldn't have been this close, and he let it get that close by just leaving this dude in there who clearly didn't have it. And then just 2 days later, he does the complete opposite. I don't get it. But yeah, I've come to the conclusion now that I don't want him near a competitive Pirates team. I mean, give him next year, and then
that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
2023, it better be another guy, because that's, again, if we can discuss the rebuild and such, but if anything, that's the point where it's close enough where that's going to be the start of the next core, altogether. Right. You better have your new guy there. Okay. Is there anything else you want to go off on Shelton for right now? Because there'll be, I know Thursday's coming, and there will be more reason too.
There will be other decisions, I'm sure, coming up shortly.
Okay, cool. So maybe we'll touch a little bit on Keller here. So Keller, was mentioned, goes down to AAA. He had coming out of the bullpen, coming into relief, he had a good first start. Second start was not so good. Seemed as if basically the same issues came up. Thoughts on that, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact that they're using him in the bullpen. Actually, I kind of like that. Just to, just one of those things that go out there and just throw, So I like that. But yeah, first game, looks like it was against Memphis. He faced, 1-2-3 inning, struck out 2 batters. Second game, though, kind of went off the rails. Command wasn't there. In particular, I think they were saying his fastball command was kind of all over the place. But in his second game, he couldn't even finish his 2 innings that he was supposed to pitch. Walked 3 batters, gave up a hit, gave up a run, did strike out 3 hitters, which he should be doing. He should be striking out more than one hitter an inning in AAA. But the command just was not there last time out. So again, just got to keep an eye on him. I like that they're going to do this 1 to 2 innings at a time, though, just to see if he can get back on track, get back to just throwing and seeing if he can find his command, because that's the issue, is the command, and then he's got to figure something out with that fastball, because
Right.
he just can't leave that fastball in the middle of the plate. It's getting crushed.
Yep. And one thing I'm going to highlight and point out here too is these have been issues. So I want to say too, like, having this outing doesn't change my mind about Keller. It's not like, oh god, when I was in AAA and he did this, like this is it for Keller. You know, like this has been his issue. He's got to clean it up. So him having this outing, this has been his problem. Like this is what he has to work on. Again, even more reason to show like maybe he should be in AAA right now. So we can do this. So like he has had this issue. So seeing it doesn't change anything. Like that's why he's here. How does he progress? Yeah, as we keep going. But right, like it's not what you want to see. Like that first outing, seeing what he did, is like, oh, okay, well that's good at least, right? The second outing, having the bad start, which I hope it's not like this in AAA now. I hope it's not one good, one bad down there, because you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if this pattern continues, like oh my god. But anyways, you know, seeing this bad outing from him per se, with the command was like that's a bit his issue. So I get it. It's not going to also change overnight because he's now just in AAA and all of his problems are gone. So yes, you know, I just want to say for the people that look at this and say, "Oh my God," that's why he's here. That's why he's here. Just stay patient,
Yep.
which is all you can really do right now. Just see if he can figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he'll probably continue to get those like two games a week. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
So we'll see how he progresses.
Well, the next one's going to be good. So
let's hope so.
And then did we? Was there something else you want to touch on? God, now I forget. We want to go into the minors.
We could do that. We could touch on some trade rumors, maybe a little bit. There was a lot of chatter yesterday. It was an off day yesterday, so I think people were bored. a lot of chatter. There was, I think it was someone threw out an Athletic article by Jim Bowden, where he laid out some Brian Reynolds trade scenarios, right? So a lot of chatter on this, you know, where, you know, if you're Brian Reynolds, right, should we hold him and extend him? Should we trade him and maximize the return because maybe the window and the years just don't add up, right?
Right.
I will say this: I haven't actually heard anybody say, like, as far as national guys and local guys, that there is Brian Reynolds trade talks going on, right? Like you see all this smoke around Adam Frazier, right? You don't really see any Brian Reynolds smoke. So I will say that, like, so all of this is just like pure speculation. But you know, Jim Bowden has this article with some possible trade situations, and he mentions Brian Reynolds and Rich Rodriguez going to Atlanta, and the return being, you know, a package of guys, but, you know, really the headliner is Drew Waters, who is an outfield prospect for the Braves. Also Kyle Wright coming back, you know, in the deal, to 25-year-old starter. Hasn't really had a ton of success in the majors, but he was a decent prospect coming up too.
Right.
He was a 5th overall pick in 2017. So he lays out this situation, and then really immediately Pirates fans are like, this isn't enough. In order for this to happen, we would need Pache, or we would need Shea Langoliers, right? So it's like, I think we're to the point where, when it comes to a Brian Reynolds trade, like, there's just not going to be a team that can give up the value needed for him. And I think that situation yesterday kind of comes into effect, because it's like, okay, well, you know, that return is pretty good, actually, right? I mean, Drew Waters is a top 50 prospect in baseball. You've got another 25-year-old starting pitcher, Kyle Wright, who great pedigree, good stuff. He just really
He slides
hasn't
right
found
in.
it yet in the
He
majors.
replaces Will Crow.
Yeah, I mean, he's in your starting rotation, and is like, okay, this is a guy who could develop into something nice, right? So it's like it's not a bad trade, from a value standpoint. But then you've got these people who are like, no, we would need Pache, and it's like, okay, well, Christian Pache is like the number 8 prospect in all of baseball. I don't think you're adding him to this deal. So, yeah, I think it's just to the point now where with Reynolds, he's playing so well right now that there's not going to be a package for him. I mean, because I actually kind of get it. Like you would need more than a top 50 prospect for Brian Reynolds at this point. The dude's on pace to have like a 5+ WAR season this year,
right?
And let's say you anticipate him not doing that, but let's say you have 4 win seasons going forward. You've got 16 wins coming from Brian Reynolds in the next 4 years, right? And
all arbiters.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to, like, in order to move that, you're gonna need a pretty significant return. And I just don't know if there's any teams out there who are going to do that.
And then here's where I think you can separate two things and understand, because I think there is some truth to the Patrick comment. Like, I think there's some truth where, like, the value for the Pirates isn't going to be there. Like, it's going to be more valuable to keep Brian Reynolds as a Pirate than it is for the return. Like, on paper, in a vacuum, if you take some of these deals, it makes sense. It's even. But an even deal, like, it doesn't make sense for the Pirates. You know what I mean? So, like, a team, if a trade, that's probably why there is no smoke to this too. Because, like, if a team's going to trade for Brian Reynolds, it's probably going to have to be a clear overpay for Cherington to say, well, let's make that happen. Okay, so that's why part of me says, well, it's true. You're going to have this type of package. But I think some people are valuing Brian Reynolds as that guy. Also, like, he's good, and that's why I got some people want to make you were part of it, Jim, their interpretation of my Kutch comparison. I want to put that comparison because, like, I want to show you, like, how good Brian Reynolds has been. Obviously coming after the 2020 season, like Newman, you had a lot of questions. 19 was good, 2020 was terrible, and all Brian Reynolds has done so far is shown. Forget 2020. Get all those numbers out of there. That's not him at all. 19 and 21 is Brian Reynolds. And those numbers are fantastic. Now, I'm not going to be the guy that says, well, if you count out 2020, here's what he did. Even with his 2020 starts, when you compare him to Kutch's start and stuff, like he's been really good. I think a lot of us felt Brian Reynolds was going to be a nice complementary piece, and now he's shown, I mean, he's everything like Brian Hayes to the most part. I mean, like, they're in that same stratosphere. Like, it's Hayes and Reynolds. Yeah. These are two guys you can build around.
He should be an all-star,
right? And I don't think it's fluky. I don't know. I don't suspect he's going to keep this pace for the rest of the year. But how much is of a drop off that it really even matters? Like, he's still a good player. Like, is he going to be having a 150 plus weighted runs created plus? Probably not. But can he sustain 130? I think he can. He's proven that, in 2019 and such. And with that type of production, like you said, like, he's easily a 3 to 4 win player. I mean, you can book that every year. It's like the Starling Marte. Like, he's entering Starling Marte territory. He is a good player, not just a guy. And so, but here's the thing too, like, I do believe some people, and I've seen it out there, are like, well, if you're going to trade Reynolds, you need like a Wander Franco. Now pump your brakes. Okay. Yes, he has been good, but he's not a Wander Franco return either. So that's not going to be the case. That's even for an overpay. I'm like, holy hell, the Pirates did what? That's not happening. That's not happening. But I can understand, yes, it might take this type of package to get a Reynolds. But it's only been because that's what you're going to need for Cherington to say, I'll part with him. It's going to be an overpay.
Yeah, and again, I just don't. I don't really see it happening at this point. Because yeah, I mean, if people are out there saying we would need, we would need Wander, you're talking about one of the greatest prospects of all time.
All time, fam.
Speaking of, today is Wander Day.
It
so
is.
that
He's
is
trying
exciting.
he's trying to take away that Ronesy day. It's bullshit.
Yeah, Wander and Rowanzy Day both today. Yeah, Wander Day though. I'm super pumped for that. But no, you're right. It's just it doesn't make sense for the Pirates to do it, like unless there's going to be this huge overpay, and I just don't see a team doing that because I don't know if other teams are going to give up top 20 prospects for Brian Reynolds.
Teams aren't giving up prospects these days either. Like they're hanging on to those guys.
Right. So I just don't really see it happening. Yes.
It's been a few weeks, Jim. We had to bring it up, All right, let's move on.
but yeah, like I want to go back to Reynolds because he's turned into a really good player. And the one thing I want to kind of point out in particular is that, what I see is the main difference in his progression here is the walk rate. His on base percentage, he's basically flirting with 400 right now. He's walking a little bit over 12% of the time. His rookie year, that great rookie year, he was around 8.4. So he's at 12.4 now. And that's huge. I mean, he's now, his on base percentage is about 100 points higher than his batting average. So if you're thinking he's going to be 300 hitter, which that's who he is, someone who's in on base 4 out of 10 times, and he looks like he's going to end up being like a 20 plus homer guy.
That's the other part.
You're talking about a good player. Like I've been nothing but impressed with him. Very, very happy with the way he's turning out.
And you're right. Like that's the other thing. He hasn't bat like under 300. Like his whole career opposed to last year. So I think that was one of the over-unders I presented to somebody or whatever. Because and you're right. Like right now he's at 299. Like he has that hit tool. But the other thing too is the power. Like he is showing that, there is more to Brian Reynolds. He does have some power in the tank. He's got 12 already this year. He had 16 his rookie year and 546 plate appearances. Now he's got 12 and 282. I'm not saying he's going to go out there and hit 30 plus home runs, right? But we kind of just felt like, he good average. He might get you like, 12 to 16, maybe 20 as a peak one time. And now it looks like, maybe the power is there. 20 to 25 home runs a year with, a 300 average, on base, like all the skills. Like the only thing he doesn't have is like, he's not going to steal bases. And I'm okay with that. But yeah, he has adequate power. He's got a really good hit tool. He gets like everything he does, and he's not a center fielder, but he can play it. He's also a very capable left fielder, though. Not Marte level, but a very capable left fielder. So there's not a lot that you don't see, like you can't like in this guy.
No, and he is a good, like he doesn't steal bases, but he is a good base runner. So like all of the base running statistics, he seems like he's a good base runner there. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned, defensively, he's not great out there in center field, but he's also not awful, and he's competent. I think ideally he's in left field, right? Mm-hmm. But he's definitely shown that he's certainly capable of handling the center field position.
He's not like some major liability. It's not as if it's like because we've had some really big plug and play center fielders, with injuries and such. And it's been bad. It's been really bad. Oh, especially Cole Tucker last year a little bit there. But, like he doesn't expose the team. It's not as if like Brian Reynolds there, he's going to cost so many games. He's capable, which is good. He's impressed me in center field. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he's been good.
Cool.
No, there's not much more to say. I think you have to this offseason you approach him and see where you can be with an extension. I know that his numbers, they add up to, you've got him already until he's 31, I think. But maybe try to get another 1 to 2 years out of him. He may not be up for that because he may not want to hit free agency at 33, right? I mean, that's another thing too. I mean, in order to do an extension, Reynolds also has to be willing to do it. And he kind of cracked the majors a little late at 24.
Mm-hmm.
So that's already kind of pushing his free agency back a little bit. So if you're Reynolds, do you say, okay, you know what, I'm just going to take this money, I won't become a free agent until 33? Or do you bet on yourself and say, you know what, if this is who I am and I hit free agency at 31, then I might be in line for, a 5-year, $100 million deal, right? So it's the gamble that he's going to have to take. Do you take that guaranteed money now, or do you wait?
Yeah, and like on the Pirates side, and this isn't me by any means saying you screwed up, because after 2020, like, there are some real questions. So are you even willing? Do you want to sign this guy and he turns into? I used an example, but Tabata. By the way, sign Tabata, I'll bring him back. But right. do you want to give him that extension? Which it would be. I mean, Tabata was so cheap, by the way. I mean, you still would have to give him a valid extension. But do you want to get an extension and he doesn't pan out, or do you just hold on? And they held on, which I think was probably the right move. But he's proven that he's really good. So now that money has done nothing but gone up. So it's if you're going to give an extension, you are going to have to pay. But at the same time, it's you got to pony up money sometime. This is where we talk about tonight. Yep. I understand the Pirates aren't going to have a $200 million payroll. This isn't they're not going to spend tons of money. I get they don't have the resources, but this is the scenario where it's where it matters. Brian Reynolds probably going to cost you some money now that you didn't want to do, but you might have to pony it up, and it just is what it is. This is where you invest into the club, because having Brian Reynolds here in 2024, 2025, maybe 2026 might really matter, opposed to saying, well, for those extra millions, no. If it's going to cost you this much, it might just have to cost you this much. What's it matter to you more? Winning, being in the contention, or saying no, he's out of our price point, and then now you've lost Brian Reynolds when you're in contention.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically that you've got to make up your mind pretty soon. Do you want Brian Reynolds to be on this next competitive team, for more than a year, right? Do you want it to just be 2023 and then you got to ship him out? Or do you want him on there for 23, 24, 25, 26?
Yes.
You got to make up your mind there.
I'll never have any beef with anyone who wants to talk about possibly trading him because of that. That, to me, that's one of the biggest differences with this new core that's coming, opposed to in 2012, the old core. They were able to lock up guys like Kutch and Marte and whatever. So you were able to have them prolonged. I don't expect Hayes to be signed to an extension, period. If he signs an extension, I will be completely shocked. So I'm already booking him not doing it. And if Reynolds doesn't sign an extension, that's major. Two of your main pieces, I'm not saying they're Kutch Marte level, but what I'm saying is those were two big pieces early on that signed this, these extensions. So you knew you had them for a length of time that you can stay relevant and competitive for. And if Reynolds and Hayes aren't, that time is ticking right now of this window. And that's it. Then they're gone.
No, you're right. I mean, so it comes down to, first off, are they willing to do it? If they are, then I think you've got to just figure it out and get it done. Both of them, right? I'm starting to lean a little bit more towards, it's going to be tougher to sign Hayes because he seriously seems like a legit superstar. So I think if you're going to lock him up, it is going to cost a decent amount of money. But again, I think it's just one of those situations. I think with Hayes, you gotta get it done. If he's willing to do it at all, you need to figure out a way to do it. Reynolds, like I said, I could see both arguments. I would like to have have him, stay. But I could see it both ways,
Same.
Yeah, so it'll just be interesting to see if this offseason we see any of those extensions.
I'm firmly on it. If you can't extend Reynolds, he should be traded at some point. Why have him? Why have 3 of his years go to waste?
Yeah, because at this point, at this point, you still would have him for 2023, 24, and 25, right?
So that's it. Well, that's the thing. You say, but thing is, you say 25, but realistically, it's probably going to be 24.
You're right. Realistically, you probably trade him
because there's no extension, so you're going to get something out of him. So, like, really, it's 2024 with him.
Yeah,
that's his last year in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. Unless you extend him, right?
Right.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. Again, we'll have to see if he's willing to do it. If he's willing to do it, I think you gotta figure something out.
Same.
He's also going to be a super
extending him.
Yeah, he should be he'll be a Super 2 guy.
Yeah.
This offseason, so that may even try to, that may be something that just get some cost certainty in there too. That may be a thing that they go for.
True. Okay. Well, we've definitely touched on Reynolds, and yes, that was such a topic yesterday. It seemed like Twitter was just on fire with Reynolds. Right. I don't know how it started. Someone put out an article there, and it just went to hell.
I tweeted something, and then everybody started having conversations in my mentions, and I was like,
Right. I know we're running short on time here. Like you said, it is Ronesy Day.
Yeah, and he was on Baseball America's hot prospect list. So hopefully he just keeps that going. We won't spend a ton of time on the minor leagues, but there was some Oneil Cruz news this weekend. Neil Huntington says that he's going to spend a little more time in Altoona, and he wants him to start playing other positions and move around the diamond and play outfield, things like that. And he said he wants him to do that at Altoona. So kind of interesting because we were always wondering, hey, is he going to stick at shortstop? Is he going to move? This is really one of the first times I think we've heard him come out and say, yeah, he's going to play other positions, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to do it at Altoona. He mentioned he hasn't had more than 300 plate appearances yet there. I think that's kind of dumb. I mean, there's plenty of people who haven't had 300 plate appearances in Altoona. I would like to see him move to AAA. And if you're going to move him around there. I don't see what he needs to be in Altoona still for, but it's whatever.
I'm indifferent on the whole situation. There's going to be people who will probably come at me like, you're an idiot. He's a shortstop. I mean, I have reservations as well. I get, like, if he can be a shortstop, that's tremendous value on the type of player he can be. I absolutely get that. I don't believe he belongs on first base, obviously. If anything, he'd be in the outfield. Like, the thing is, I mentioned too, like, I think we've by default put him in right field. Like, what if he could be a great center fielder though? Also, what if it's not shortstop but it's center field? I mean, there's definitely a hole in center field potentially, especially with Swagger's injury. I mean, that arm plays, if that athleticism plays. I mean, center field's still a premium, like, defensive position. What if it's center field? I mean, the value's still there. Like, that type of hitter at center field is still valuable. But I get the whole shortstop thing. I'm on board with it. Like, if he can stick it short, that's great. And I would give him every possibility, and they have. But there's still some worries because he still has a lot of errors. So I don't think, like, moving him around right now is going to hurt him at short, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't think it's going to stunt his growth. Like, well, he can't be a shortstop now. Like, he still can be, but let's experiment him elsewhere, see what else he can do, because he might have to learn a new position at some point. I'm okay with it. I'm indifferent. ultimately, I want him to be a shortstop, and I want to be a good shortstop. But I do have reservations if he can be it. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you can look at the errors, right, and say, yeah, I don't know if that'll play in the majors, right? But again, if he can play shortstop, then you're looking at a dude who's, again, I mean, there's never been a shortstop like him before in baseball. He would be the tallest shortstop in Major League history.
And just to kind of stop you, like, I want to make sure the point there is, like, it's not just I look at him and say he's 6'7", he can't do it, because there's a large group of people that just say he can't do it just because they look at him. It's nothing like that. It's just purely because of the errors and such that he does make. But I mean, he does make some really good plays though, also.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him still play shortstop. I want to see if he can do it. So, like, I want him to play shortstop in the majors and, like, just see if he can do it. I mean, we've seen tapes from Altoona, but, you know, you only see the good stuff and the bad stuff. You don't really see routine things and day-to-day activities, right? So it's hard to really get a gauge on him. I would love to see him just go out, you know, when he gets called up, just, like, be the everyday shortstop for a month and see how he handles the situation.
That's fair.
And if it doesn't work out, then you can move him. But yeah, like, I think you have to play him at shortstop if he's capable of playing Major League shortstop, because it's just the value that you would get out of that is just insane.
I mean, it's kind of like, and then you can worry about other people and the positions later.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, if it ends up being Nick Gonzalez the center fielder, ends up being Nick Gonzalez the center fielder. This is what it is.
Right.
I'm cool with that. Okay. Anything else you wanted to touch on, or are we out of here?
I think we'll do it. That'll do it.
All right.
Rambled on for a little more than an hour here.
So the Pirates have, 20 games in a row? So that means we will be back for NS9 Live after the game. There actually is a game on a Thursday that we can talk about afterwards. So yeah, we'll get you guys. Not tomorrow because today's Tuesday. On Thursday, we'll be back for NS9 Live, and we'll talk to you then. So bye-bye.
See you guys.